Mhm.
So is Lisa the only other panelist besides you and Doug?
No, Dr. Williams will be in the secondary one. Doug will be in the elementary one. Plus Alan
Okay, that's right.
and Derek.
Okay.
Doreen, are you going to stay unmuted?
I'm doing a super brief introduction
Okay.
of not all the panelists, but of Derek. And then I'll turn it over.
Okay. Just
Yeah.
checking. Just doing my background work.
Okay.
So I'm just going to sit back and monitor things as they go and see if there's anything you guys need me to do.
Okay.
And if this one goes really well, I'll do the same for the start of the next one. And if it seems to be rolling the same, then I'll probably take off about 15 minutes in.
Oh yeah, that sounds perfect.
Okay, great. All right. Talk to you later.
Oh, so Do you think 5 minutes before we start is a good time to start broadcasting?
Yes.
All
Are
right.
you going to play music or anything? No, never mind. Don't add
Just
that
made
to
me freak out.
it. Jeff likes to play music or have an agenda up or something.
Hmm. Okay.
All right.
Let me
I'm
think
just
about
gonna,
that for 6 minutes.
there you go. All right. I'll give it a few more minutes and then I'll broadcast, or Derek's not on yet either.
No, he said he was going to get on like in 5 minutes before.
Okay. All right. I'll wait. Pardon? The link that you need for tonight is, did this link get sent out, Doreen, to Lisa and Doug?
I will do that right now.
Doreen, sending it to you right now. I'll send it to Charlene and Lisa for the second one. That's a good idea, Lisa. Doreen.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. They keep talking to me when I have my headphones in.
Okay.
Yes. Doreen, can you send it to Dr. Williams as well?
Mm-hmm.
She'll send it right over to you via email. You're going to be an attendee, and then I'm going to bump you to a panelist. Oh, you're right. Okay, we're going to go ahead. Doreen, I'm going to broadcast now.
Okay.
Go ahead, Doug.
Good evening, everyone. We are going to get started here in just a few more minutes. We have a lot of people still joining, so we're going to give them a couple minutes to get settled. Looks like we're at about 98 participants right now, so that's a great number. And I'll check in with you in just a minute. Okay, so welcome. We have about 121 attendees tonight so far, so I think we're ready to get started as it's 5:03. I want to welcome you this evening to our webinar on Camas Connects Academy. My name is Doreen McKercher, and I'm the Communications Director for the Camas School District. In a moment, I'll turn things over to our Career and Technical Education Director, Derek Jaquez, who is our presenter tonight. Derek will introduce our panelists, but I'd like to say a special thank you to Assistant Superintendent Lisa Gressip, who is assisting me with the question and answer portion of this webinar tonight. Derek, I'll turn it over to you so you can share your screen.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to sharing information with you. So currently my screen sharing has been disabled. Sorry, short technical.
Well, while we're waiting for that to be resolved, I have a question so far that I know that I can answer. And the question is, can you help us connect with other families using the program in the same grade? And the great news is that with Parent Square, our new communication platform, we're able to create affinity groups that people can join as they wish. And so within each of our schools, we will be able to create groups like a PTA group, where parents will be able to join if they want to and connect with each other. And so we're very excited about that functionality. And looks like Derek has overcome his technical challenge. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and let Derek take the lead.
Great, thanks, Doreen. Okay, so we have a slideshow. And once again, thank you and welcome for joining us. This is informational material for the Camas Connect Academy for the 2021 school year and beyond. Here we go. So just a brief agenda. So quick introductions. Thanks for holding on while we waited for the people to join us. We're going to do a curriculum overview and with a sample schedule and kind of dig into what does it look like from a third grade perspective. We have curriculum outlines for third, fourth, and fifth grade. And then we have a large chunk of time to just dedicated to questions and answers. These are our desired outcomes. So the goal of tonight is to provide families with an overview of the academy. As I said, provide a curricular example, talk about some of the key differences between Camas Connect and the remote 2.0/hybrid learning, whatever the health requirements allow us to do and when they allow us to come back into in-person learning. We also will talk about the registration timeline and process. And as I mentioned, a large chunk of time for questions and answers. So real quick, just introduce the panelists. So we have Mr. Doug Hood, who is the Director of Elementary Education, Ms. Doreen McKercher, who you have already met, Communications Director. Alan Fleck is also here as Student Services Director. I'm Derek Jacobs, Career and Technical Education Director. And also joining us, monitoring the chat, is Dr. Williams, Dr. Charlene Williams, and Lisa Gresseth. So real quick, I just want to also say that I'm a member of I'm a parent, and I understand that this is a very challenging time to navigate, so we appreciate your patience. And we're trying to provide you with as much information as we can to help you make a decision with your child. I have a 4th and a 6th grader, and I understand, at home it's been very challenging as well, and so we look forward to providing you as much information as we can. So briefly, this is the a general overview of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade curriculum. So we are going to use an online curriculum that's developed and supported through our Camas School District instructors. We spent the last 6 or 7 weeks exploring curriculum K5 and K2. We did not find curriculum that we felt was high quality enough for our students. And so we have opted in the Camas Connect Academy not to offer K2 experience. We realize that's disappointing for many families. However, as a district, we will be engaging in further exploration to offer a full remote version for K2, but not through the Camas Connect Academy. In grades 3 through 5, we will utilize very similar curriculum to what's offered in remote 2.0, but the difference is that it will be a full year planned online program. So students won't be flexing in and out of a hybrid or a full in-person depending on the health requirements. They will spend the entire school year in an online environment. The program is designed to be thematic and have engaging hands-on with a project-based component. So we have created it says draft, but this is what we call a curricular skeleton. And a lot of the standards are more teacher speak, but very informational for parents as well. So if we look at the expeditionary learning and most of the curriculum materials are similar to what are utilized in buildings. So if you're a Valor Bear or a Woodburn Wolf, as my children are and were, this is some of the similar curriculum that they would engage in. We're going to wrap it around into a thematic experience. So if you look at the first September, which is the column on the left right here, we have building community and social emotional learning. So we're going to talk about literacy around the world. And we have a reader's workshop with aligned curriculum. October, November, the core theme is sources of energy. We have extreme weather in December, January, and February. Amazing animal adaptations in March and April. So the reading and the writing and the curriculum all wrap around that central theme. I'll go down a little bit. So these are some of the foundational skills, and this is a 3rd grade model. There's one of these maps for 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. And you will be able to find those on our website tomorrow morning. And additionally, in this document, we have writing with the same concept. It's wrapped around that general theme. So the theme is a through line throughout the curriculum, and all of the content wraps into that theme. You'll notice at the bottom of the document, and we have expeditions and experts. So this is part of the program goal. Is one of the nice things about having an online virtual world is that we can bring in experts, right? Normally an expert from OMSI would have to go to 37 classrooms in the district, where in this situation, we can bring in an expert through Zoom who's able to talk students through an experience. So we do have these pre-existing connections, and we'll be continuing to grow and develop those connections to bring in these experts into our classrooms. You can look at the bottom, like there's a project component to each of the curricular units as well. So for example, the first unit, there's going to be a book project in 3rd grade that students will create a book. In the physical science, the October, November timeframe, they will build a model with a sketch and utilize mystery science elements. So this is a really, takes a lot of project-based learning and thematic learning. And also, you might be familiar with the mathematic adoption that the Camas School District has done over the last few years, but Bridges is the adopted district-wide math curriculum, and that will also be utilized in the Camas Connect Academy for 3rd through 5th grade students. So we have, lined out what does it look like in September, and so you can see the curricular map from September through June. And this is a skeleton map, and staff and teachers in the Camas Connect Academy will fill in all of the ligaments and joints and muscle, right? If we look at this as a skeleton map. And I realize this is a brief overview of the curriculum. As I said, these documents will be available to review on our website. So what is the schedule? What does the daily schedule look like? The Camas Connect Academy, and this says draft because there is, we're still in need of some flexibility for specialists. So what does PE look like? And music, and what do those things look like in a virtual setting? Most likely, it'll be on Friday, but we're still nailing down the specific details. So this schedule is fairly similar to what a student would experience at their neighborhood school. However, there's a little bit more flexibility, particularly on the Friday. But this is the schedule as we've developed that helps with thematic project-based learning, skill-based instructional experience that students will have. So you can see, as I said, it's very similar to an experience that someone would have at Woodburn or Helen Ballard. So a couple of just FAQs before we get to these are things that have already come up, but before we get to the question and answer period. So what does it take to be successful? So some ability to work independently, willingness to connect with staff and classmates. Really, it's difficult, but we know through research that the best education is through a relationship, and building the relationship online in a virtual world is certainly more difficult than in person. However, it can be done, and we will work to do that with families and students. And there are several ways we do that. So for example, one of the things that teachers will be asked to do is to have community time every morning where students and staff will connect. Additionally, one of the items on the list here is support at home. And that's really true for any remote 2.0 learning, as I know any parent in the spring can attest that it definitely takes some support at home to monitor, help adjust, support, encourage children to be successful in an online environment. So what's the primary difference between Camas Connect and neighborhood school? For the 2021 school year, the big difference is very simple. It's a planned full remote option. And the concept behind the full remote is that families will have the ability to plan that they are online for the whole year. And that we realize we have students who have medical issues that require them to stay away, even if we're in a hybrid mode. So as Dr. Melnick, our regional health expert, has outlined, there's high risk, medium risk, and low risk. And we want to provide an opportunity for students and families who have certain risk at home to be able to learn online all year. Can my student transfer back to their attendance area of school? Yes, absolutely. One of the things we're asking for is a minimum at the elementary level, a trimester commitment. And this is typically, we have found in education, is very beneficial for students when they can transfer in at a specific point. Frankly, it also helps us to staff the program appropriately and make sure that we have a high quality instructional experience for students in the Camas Connect Academy and in their neighborhood schools. And this is a question that's come up many times, and I'm sure there'll be some questions for Mr. Fleck about this, but will the Camas Connect Academy be able to serve students with disabilities? Absolutely, yes. And we will do curricular modifications, collaborate with the general ed teachers, and we'll also be doing virtual direct support, instruction and support. The IEP team and the parents will work collaboratively to help decide if that's the best placement for students. We absolutely have students with an IEP that we can serve in the Camas Connect Academy. One of the last slides before we kind of get to the Q&A is how do we register for the Camas Connect Academy. So registration will open tomorrow, and there'll be a link on our website. I have the link here, which we can, sorry about that, we can drop in the chat. And I will do that shortly. So I realize it's quick, kind of a fire hose, very quick, but we want to reserve the majority of our time for questions and answers. And we realize that there are probably a lot of curricular questions, and that's why we're putting all of the information for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade onto our website so parents can look through the information. So with that, we'll start with the Q&A session.
Okay, so some of the questions are somewhat similar and were answered during your presentation. They were maybe typed just ahead of when you were able to answer those, Derek. But this one is, will this be more work or less work than the hybrid model?
It's a great question. Absolutely will be on par and similar to the hybrid or the remote learning 2.0 as we're calling it. So the short answer is it'll be the same amount of work. It'll be a very similar experience in grades 3 through 5.
And you kind of addressed this one related to special services, but they'll also be able to receive direct instruction for services like speech, correct?
Alan, can you answer that for us, please?
Yeah, sure. So basically, any student who's served on an IEP, the IEP team, which includes a parent, would have been a part of a team that put together what services that student needs through special services to be successful in their education. We can pretty much parallel what was written into those IEPs. You know, there'll be some students, you know, given the severity of a disability, let's say, that would be very difficult for us to stay at a virtual level the whole year. And actually, we do have plans of trying to, under our current model, to bring some students back sooner than later, especially those that we have identified as not really benefiting through the virtual learning opportunities that started occurring in March. But for the most part, most students would be able to benefit through a special ed teacher providing collaboration and direct services. If a student qualifies for a related service with speech language or occupational therapy, that would all be delivered through virtual. But nothing would prevent us from providing services directly to students in a virtual format as we were doing in the spring.
Okay, next question. Will families who have twins be able to arrange for them to be in the same class, or would they be in different classes?
So I can answer that. Right now we don't have the staffing model for this will depend on the number of students who are enrolled. It's likely that, based on our earlier survey results, it's likely that we'll have a class per grade level, but there is a possibility of a multi-grade level classroom depending on how many students are enrolled. So the answer to twins could be yes, they could be. However, if there's because there's likely to be only one class.
All right, next question. So there isn't a purchased, tried and true online program for 3 through 5, something like Florida Virtual?
Yeah, so we explored the Florida Virtual program with a team of teachers and administrators, and it is adequate, but we don't feel like it was high enough quality for the experience that we want to provide for our students in Camas. Additionally, we want to be able to provide the opportunity to have more alignment in our curriculum with our neighborhood schools.
Okay, who will be teaching Camas Connect Academy? Have you already trained these teachers to teach with CCA, or is this just the beginning? Learning to teach online is quite a learning curve, so my concern is around how prepared these teachers will be for this.
So as a district, we have undergone training from an online educational expert. His name is Jeff Utek, and we will continue to provide ongoing training for our staff in the CCA, specifically around online instruction. That will also happen as long as we're in remote learning for all of our staff. However, for the Camas Connect Academy instructors, we will have continued online learning throughout the year. Additionally, we do have teachers who have helped to create curriculum, but we will be conducting a hiring process based on the number of students who are engaged in the school.
Okay, well, this is a 3-parter. Will there be any support for the HiCap program? Who will the instructors be? Well, that was just sort of asked and answered. Is the curriculum similar to the regular grade level curriculum? So HiCap and curriculum.
So I'm going to see if Doug, are you able to answer that question?
Sure, thank you. Yes, we, just like Alan addressed students that are served through an IEP, that if a student who is in the HiCap program would want to access CCA, that yes, we would need to figure out how to serve that student. And if there are a group of students, that cluster model could be one way that we're doing that. So that is absolutely a discussion that we are having around HiCap students that are wanting to access CCA.
All right, will students be assigned to a specific teacher for the whole year?
Yes. Students will have a core, much like a typical 3rd grade experience. Students will have a core instructional teacher, and that will be for the entire school year, as long as they're in the Camas Connect Academy.
Okay. How flexible is the actual timing of the classes? Will they be recorded to view at a later time during the day?
So in the Camas Connect Academy, we will offer a combination of synchronous and asynchronous, so live and recorded. And we are asking all teachers to record their lessons so they can be viewed later. However, we do believe the synchronous component of instruction allows a teacher to react in real time, and is the best educational teaching practice. So we would ask students to prioritize the course synchronous times when possible.
Very good. One question that I'll take is, will Liberty have a Zoom call like this? Yes, tonight at 6. And let's see, we also have more staffing. Is there a PE/music component or requirement?
You want me to take this, Derek? Okay.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah. So yes, we would like to do that. We know that many of our neighbors that have some similar program neighboring districts, excuse me, do not have that, and we would really like to provide that, knowing that the whole child, that is such a critical piece. So, you know, one opportunity could be on Fridays through asynchronous lessons from actual PE teachers or music teachers from around the district at the elementary level that are already making asynchronous videos, or if potentially we find the FTE based on how many students enroll, maybe some synchronized lessons as well.
Okay, what are the class sizes? Will there be opportunities for small group learning? How often would that be placed into every learning day?
That's a great question. And so I can answer that. I've attended several of the trainings that we have had from an online expert, and absolutely the utilization of breakout rooms and small group instruction will be a significant change from the experiences that students have had previously. And that will be absolutely true in the Camas Connect Academy, where teachers will utilize small group periods. There was another question that I read in the block that said, what will happen between 9 and 11? And that's part of what will happen is students will be often broken into small groups, and a teacher will jump into their breakout room, connect with a small group, help with the instruction, hop into another group, and circle back as a whole class. So the teaching modality of virtual really makes the normal teaching different, but we're still able to utilize breakout rooms and technology to support small group instruction.
Very good. How much time do you expect parents will need to be involved in guiding their children's daily schoolwork?
So much like much like direct instruction in an in-person experience, it's very dependent on the student. And I have two on each spectrum personally. And I believe that, parents will absolutely need to support their child. Some children, depending on where they're at in the developmental progress, will need more parental support at home and more time with them, and others will be able to do quite a bit more on their own. I know that's a bit of a vague answer, but it's really dependent on each student, and each student is unique in their needs. And as a system, that's part of the expertise of what teachers hopefully can deliver, and that is to identify and support students who need it more and as much as possible while serving all students.
This is more of a logistical question. Who do we reach out to if we have questions after reviewing the online content that we're going to post?
So I put my email. I can share my screen again with my email on there. It just shrinks the size, but you can email me, and I will put that up here for a few minutes. And there we go. So there's my email contact.
Okay, I see ReadyGen and Bridges Mathematics as two of the programs you are using. Are there other published programs, sorry, this keeps jumping around, that we'll be utilizing?
Yes, a short answer is absolutely yes. Very similar to what a student would experience in an in-person experience. There will be like typing agent software, Mystery Doug. So there's several different smaller software types. The primary learning management system will be a Google Classroom. However, there are a lot of smaller programs and software options that will be utilized for instruction.
Okay. If my student isn't able to work independently, will they be able to be successful? Is it more or less independence needed for Connect Academy versus Distance 2.0?
Doug, do you think you can answer that one?
Was it about whether a student is going to be independent in CCA? If they're not independent, will they not be successful?
Essentially, does CCA require more independence than Remote 2.0?
I can't speak to CCA, so Derek, if you want to take that, but I can speak to the remote. I think Derek had already said there's this balance of independent and not independent. Having 3 students myself at home in the spring, I had 2 that were very independent. I had 1 that was very dependent. And so I think there's going to be some very similar things happening with CCA and with Remote 2.0. but I can't speak specifically to the thematic units that are happening within the CCA. So Derek, I would say take that, please.
Yeah, and it's I would say that they are very similar in the amount of support that a student would need at home. The project-based element can certainly require a little bit of additional support. However, like when my own son built his catapult in 5th grade last year, it was like 80% dad and 20% him while he's learning. So I do think that it will be very similar between an in-person experience and the Camas Connect experience in the amount of support a student needs from home.
And a couple of questions related to who the teachers are. Are they teachers who have already taught in Camas, or will we be bringing in new teachers?
So
is it a dedicated staff, like a standalone staff?
yeah, core teachers will be a dedicated standalone staff of existing Camas School District teachers. Additionally, we do have some staff that in our district have experience teaching in other places in an online environment, pretty substantial experience. And we've leaned on some of those professionals to help us design and create the curriculum. We will go through a hiring process very quickly to identify the staff involved, and they will be assigned all year to the program, with the exception potentially of a specialist, like a coding instructor, a PE instructor.
This is more logistical. I'm going to combine a couple of questions here. Will the students have contact with teachers via Zoom or phone? And will they be using Google Classroom or a different platform?
Those students will be using Google Classroom. They will connect also through Zoom periodically, oftentimes in maybe a family meeting. One of the things during our research that we found that's really incredibly powerful in an online learning environment is a direct connection between families and teachers, and also administrators. And ideally, in the long term, when we're not in a COVID situation, so if we fast forward 2 years ago, this school will also include home visits and building visits. While there's not that opportunity during the COVID experience, or it's limited because of COVID based on the health requirements, that is a component of the school that we would and do plan to include in the future and when allowed during this time of COVID-19.
Okay. This question notes that they recognize that you addressed leaving CCA to go back to neighborhood schools at trimester marks, but it's not clear if you could transfer into CCA mid-year or at trimester marks.
Yes, that would also be possible to transfer into the program. And I read a question also that asked, it's unclear whether this is a year commitment or a trimester commitment. Really, we'd love to have students for a year. However, we also want to recognize that some families may feel that this is not a good fit for them. So we ask that they stay a minimum of a trimester. So the ask is for a year. However, it's not necessarily the requirement. We would ask that you unless there's some really significant circumstances, stay for a minimum of a trimester and hopefully plan for a year.
Okay. Another question about teaching staff. So just to be clear, if you're in CCA and you transfer out at trimester, you're going to get a new teacher. You're not going to be able to keep any of your same teachers or your core teacher.
That's correct. Correct. You're in a different entity, a different school. It would be like transferring from one of our neighborhood schools to another.
Will the attendance and schedule be required, or can we do classes on our own time? Kind of relates to a few other questions about if my child isn't very good on live Zoom, could they just view the recording and will that count?
So we would like students will be taking attendance during live sessions. So students really encourage them, and we realize that for some they're shy, or the video technology is not really privy to their learning style. We would recommend that all students participate in the live sessions, but the live sessions are limited. However, all the sessions will be recorded, and students can work independently when needed.
And this one is from one of our own. How does a Camas teacher become assigned to Camas Connect, have you already chosen your staff?
We have not selected staff, and we will be posting the jobs tomorrow and hiring them in very short order.
Okay. We continue to get a lot of questions about highly capable. There's maybe 15 questions about HiCap and how those services will be delivered.
So depending on how many students we have will kind of determine how that's delivered. We've been in contact and communication with Jackie Grau, who oversees. And so depending on how many students we have might play out on what the delivery model looks like. Is it with other students within our own district that she groups together, or are there enough students within CCA that she leans into CCA and does some things with them?
Will supplies for projects be provided to families, or will we have to get our own supplies?
Yes, supplies will be provided. So part of the design of our school is much like the classroom. We are anticipating delivery of, for example, like a science experiment or science equipment or other needed items for a project. Maybe not all of them. So if you decide to build the 30-foot tall, 12-foot wide trebuchet instead of the little one, then you may have to buy your own supplies. But the standard, science experiment type of equipment materials will be provided.
As well as books and texts that we would normally provide to our students, correct?
Correct.
Let's see, we have about 10 more minutes and 80 questions left open. So just know that if we don't get to your question, that we will be grouping these questions by themes and trying to address your concerns. Again, you'll be able to email Derek with your questions if those are not addressed in the themed Q&A. Will students be encouraged to continue connections with physical school they used to attend, or is this considered completely separate? Example, teacher parades, virtual activities provided by PTA, etc.
So the school will be separate. So students will not be connected to their previous school. However, the Camas Connect Academy will have similar type of events and activities within the school. It is a little bit more difficult in a totally virtual environment, but there will absolutely be opportunities for students and staff and the program to connect together. That's a key part of the experience. It was for my family. I know it is for many families, is that relational and the great activities that we get to do as a community.
Okay, and a couple of questions that are sort of along the same lines. Would the synchronous time be the same whether you were in CCA or in the the K2 program online?
So in the Camas Connect Academy, it will be a similar time, but the time is not quite as structured as the Remote 2.0. In the Remote 2.0, it's very specific time frames. In the Camas Connect Academy, the time frame there was a sample draft schedule. You saw like 9 to 11 was Connect time. So in that, it could be 40 minutes one day of asynchronous, 20 of here's experiences, and maybe 20 more of small group times. So it's a little bit more variable in the Camas Connect Academy, not quite as structured with the amount of time every day.
Okay, will the student be required to reside in the district at all times while enrolled in CCA, or will faraway travel limit the student's capability to access videos and lessons online? That was a big one.
Yeah, and that's a great question. One I've had from several of our friends in our neighborhood as well. And I would say that students, just like in a typical school setting, obviously do have the ability to take vacations and travel as needed. And the nice thing about the remote learning is they can connect remotely and stay engaged in their education. They will miss the opportunities for like project material distribution and the times when we were able to connect potentially with some of the community building activities.
Okay. Some of the same questions, I'm just kind of scrolling through there. Who will be our administrative point of contact for CCA? Will a principal be assigned to this program? Other school districts have had these types of programs run like a separate school.
During the 2021 school year, I'll be serving as the administrator for the program. And you know, this is not my first gig as a principal of a school. It is, however, as an online school principal. And so in the future, we will decide staffing based on our enrollment. But for the 2021 school year, I will be serving as principal. And our plan is to actually also hopefully engage some teachers in teacher leadership opportunities where they can help in curricular development and administratively supporting the program.
And we've had a few requests for you to share your screen again and show the daily sample schedule. And when would we find out who our child's primary core instructor is for CCA?
Sorry, my mute button moves when I share my screen. So that would be very close to the start of school. So we have a timeline of this event. We have open registration period, and then we will hire staff in about 7 days time. So we anticipate around the end of August, which is very near the beginning of school, that teachers will be assigned. And we realize that is very short notice and can be stressful on families. But that is the timeline.
So this question is about K2 students that they wrote. I believe you had mentioned earlier that there may be a full-time remote learning available for K2 students, not through the academy option. When will we be able to learn about more? Excuse me. When will we be able to learn more about that?
Sure, I can take that, Derek. So in looking at CCA and the K2, and we didn't find a product or an outcome that we were willing to put out there. We didn't think it was as good as we could do with remote. So for families that need remote all year, K2, let's say we get into a scenario where we can actually bring students back on campus, whether that's in a hybrid or full-time. If you're a K2 student and you need to be remote for medical reasons or personal reasons, we're going to figure out how to serve those families and students through their home school.
Okay, so this question is still about the difference between remote and 2.0. Derek, if you had to summarize just a couple of core ideas that differentiates CCA and remote 2.0, what would those be?
Well, I want to reiterate that first off, the biggest difference is that the Camas Connect Academy for 2021 will not be flexing in and out of in-person school, and that is the most significant difference. Additionally, each classroom, like I've had a different experience with my own children. Like I said, I have a 6th grader just finished elementary, and some of his teachers were a bit more hands-on than others. And the goal of this school is to definitely be thematic and hands-on and project-based. So I would say there's perhaps more of an element of project-based learning with the Camas Connect 3 through 5 experience. However, my son has certainly had teachers, my daughter, that are very engaging in their projects as well. So I would just reiterate the biggest difference is this is a planned full online experience for the year.
Oh, here's a good one. Are we expecting CCA to be a permanent addition to Camas School District?
Yes. Yes. One thing that I would say is we've learned from COVID is that there are certain students and families who engage and do better in an online environment. It's in the significant minority, not in my house. However, we do recognize and we want to serve those families who feel like they can engage and learn better in an online environment.
What is the deadline to register for CCA?
That's a great question. So we're asking families to register as soon as possible, and we realize it's a very difficult decision and one that is not taken lightly. We do have to staff the program. Obviously, a deadline would be before September 1st. However, we're asking families to register by the 20th of August, if at all possible. And that's would allow us to offer a better product, both in person at your, not in person, but in your neighborhood school and through the Camas Connect Academy. So realize, like I said, it's a very difficult decision and it's a short timeline, but that's the ask.
Okay. Will previous teachers who have gotten to know your child best make recommendations to the new teachers? And I think that this is kind of like those fly-up cards that we do at elementary every spring. I think that's what this is related to.
Doug, is that one that you can take?
If there's communication between previous teachers and the new teachers, that's always a great thing to be doing, right? Collaborating with previous staff. And this is in a little bit different situation given that CCA is new, and staff within buildings obviously have done that and had those conversations. But I think that's a critical piece that would need to happen to figure out, you know, what is it that we need to do to help our students be successful in CCA. Talking with the previous teacher, the previous school is a great thing to be doing.
Okay, this is one that I can answer. If you sign up for the academy, will you still receive any communication from your normal in-person school? I do know that in Parent Square, there's an opportunity to sign up for news from a school that is not your own school. And so the answer to that would be yes, but it would require an extra step on the part of the family. Oh, let's see. Will all students get Chromebooks?
Yes, all students will have access to Chromebooks in the Camas Connect Academy. And it's true in the entire district. Grades 3 through 5 have access to a Chromebook, and that's the Camas Connect grade band.
Will the
And can I respond to that too, just so people are, and K through 2, and you'll be getting some information from each home school on K through 2 students, or K through 3, because they were second graders last year, that there will be deployment of Chromebooks for those students as well at their home school.
Is there going to be a hard deadline to make a decision? You indicated, Derek, that we'd like to know by the 20th, but if it's September 1st, which is the first day of school, is that going to be too late?
So my response to that is yes, we need to have people indicate their interest in the program as soon as possible. And I would say the hard deadline is going to be the last day of August, but that will make a more difficult experience for students in the Camas Connect Academy if people wait that long.
Let's see. How do we register our students for CCA?
So there's a link that was in the presentation that will also be posted on our, and I realized, can we drop the link in the chat? Or I think I can. I'll drop the link in the chat. Sorry.
The chat might be turned off
Okay.
in this format, but I think definitely by the end of the day tomorrow, we'll have a page on our district website specific to CCA that has links to the presentation, this recording, the Q&A, as you know, all the information that we have, as well as the registration link. Will there be parent-teacher conferences?
Yes. Yeah, much like the neighborhood school experience, they will be virtual, but we will certainly have parent-teacher conferences.
Okay. Just trying to make sure we're not missing any of that. I'm seeing a lot of repeat questions. Will there be a maximum number of students per class?
We will keep the classes similar to the experience in the neighborhood schools for the Camas Connect Academy.
And will there be a limit of the number of students accepted into the academy as a whole?
At this time, we do not have a cap on the number of students that are admitted to the academy.
Okay, so we're about 3 minutes past time, still with 90 questions that have been unanswered. So I'm glad that there's a lot of interest, and we'll be working hard to get you answers to these questions. Again, you can email Derek, and that his email address will be sure and post that on the page that we're going to post by hopefully by the end of the day tomorrow. So I want to thank everyone for your participation. We had a great turnout, looks like about 150 people for 3 through 5, so that's wonderful. And for those of you that asked again, there will be a secondary, which includes middle and high school session that starts in about 10 minutes. So thank you very much, and we're going to end this session. Good night.